I think we made our point. So we are gathered here today. I'm State Representative Jaime Foster. I'm really honored to stand with colleagues from Municipal Government, First Selectman Jason Bauza, my colleagues in the House, Representative Hall and Representative Jane Garibay, my colleague Senator Anwar, and one of the impacted neighbors, Andrea Mascaro. So we're here today because we live in a neck of the woods in Connecticut that has been disproportionately impacted by two problems related to grid-scale solar. So I'm going to start by saying there's not one of us up here who's opposed to seeing increased solar, to seeing the positive impact on the environment that solar energy generation has. However, we represent a district that has been disproportionately negatively impacted by grid-scale solar in a noise impact way, which you just heard one of the arrays in East Windsor on Middle Road, where neighbors complain that when their hearing aids are on and they walk out their front door and they're in rooms of their house that they can't hear over that high-pitched, constant humming. But we also represent an area where so much land, 1,000 acres in East Windsor, has been consumed by grid-scale solar, and they don't pay their fair share of taxes to generate revenue for municipalities who could really use that. So we are here today to talk about two important pieces of legislation. The first is one that would require the Siting Council to consult with and defer to local municipal control when a certain level of solar saturation was reached. The Connecticut Siting Council was originally established to make sure that certain communities didn't share a disproportionate burden of the state's energy generation in comparison to the rest of the state. Now, of course, when that started, it was about trash incineration and it was about diesel peaker plants. But solar generation takes away a tax revenue base. It's a nuisance neighbor in the amount of sound that it emits. But additionally to that, we have no authority. Towns, state representatives, neighbors, municipal CEOs, when the noise becomes such an incredible burden that neighbors are physically and emotionally taxed by listening to the sound all day, we have no authority to do anything. And when those concerns are raised to the Siting Council, they fall on deaf ears, which is not intended to be a pun. And when we work to address these issues, we are being met by a lot of resistance from the company and sort of dragging their feet in trying to address what are the problems. So Representative Hall, Senator Anwar, and I have introduced an amendment that we plan to add to a solar bill that will address when there are municipal noise complaints or complaints filed before the Siting Council related to solar arrays emitting excessive noise, that the Siting Council will not cite future projects with that problematic developer and deployer unless that noise complaint is mitigated. And so we have, for 3 years, worked to try and address this noise complaint with this single, particularly problematic sound array that you all heard and thought was some horrible tech malfunction at the beginning. From sun up to sundown, neighbors in East Windsor are hearing that noise all the time. And we have not been able to address this problem through significant amounts of effort, probably one of the most chasing down of a problem that I've ever faced in advocating for a constituent. We have not been able to make progress on this issue. And so we are bringing forward this amendment to give our constituents the opportunity to have some remediation done. And so we look forward to adopting this amendment.